How much it having a different country of origin? It does because your culture was cut off. Your culture is purely American culture. Okay, you were actually not raised but bred to be in this country. So your culture is American culture, more than probably more than anybody else's, because you cut off from your continent's culture or your original culture, right? And you're actually and the people that knew what the old country was actually killed. You're actually bred from the ground up to be here. Well, you're past. Well, that's your right. You're past now, but the thing is, you wanted them back. Yeah, exes have been looking at me for years. Had to put my Facebook on private hire from the random comment. Yep. And I never dated an American black one. I don't care if they come back. I'll date African or American Max for some real black women. I just want them some backbreaking black women at 18, leather jeans. Well, the thing is, some guys have been socialized not to date black women. Well, that's up to them. That might be slaughtered out. That's them. Okay. Yeah, they didn't. They're following us. When I first went to Ghana, there's very few women going to Ghana, going to Africa, right? They didn't start going to the black men started going. You don't never see a whole group of women going to the continent by themselves until the men started opening up the continent. You mean American black men started opening it up? They didn't go. The way you were saying it makes black men sound like barnacles following black men around. Hey, they are. They do follow you around. They go where you go. They're not going. They're not going to go where you haven't gone. In fact, I saw an ad for an Afro Beats Club in Medellin, and it had a black woman in the Afro. I'm unsure if she's Afro Colombian or legit ABW, so I'm iffy on that. I saw a whole group, man, of HBCUs talked about. I think it was just a couple of weeks ago. Talk about going down to Medellin. They didn't do that before, but now all of a sudden they are. Well, not the pendulum swinging back is not just forcing black women to adjust, but also the governments. It's really the government that has to adjust. The government has to take some of this stuff off the table because it's just not working. Yeah, they do. The cock block. I've heard that more than a few times. Yeah, yeah. I might have played that clip. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's soft life. Soft life. The divestors. The divestors talking shit about you because black men are up to stuff. The divestors are trying to complain to black men to get white men to take them, but white men aren't taking them. They'll get them pregnant. They have babies by them, but they're not going to marry them. Black women have more babies by other men about by Latino and white men than black men, about 15-16%. But black men are like have like what 20% more, 25% more marriages out of the race. What does that tell you? Not that they're not having sex with these men, they're not marrying these men, and the men are not necessarily taking care of the babies. Yeah, everybody's gonna yeah, we're gonna stack your paper now because now you know that what you're dealing with. But if they didn't come back to the table and you didn't see it in real time or experience it in real time, we still be on that bullshit. But we're not on that bullshit no more. No, Uganda, Brazil, it is. Yeah, well, the thing is, with Brazil, you probably got a good 15 years, okay? And Uganda's small. Uganda's already changing, man. They're already spitting that feminist shit. But you probably got 20 years in Uganda before this stuff follows you. Gonna get your passport. Better do it now, because as they develop, this shit's changing. Because the out of wedlock birth rate in South Africa, I think is 60%, which is just a little bit more below us. So it's already happening in South Africa. Oh yeah, yep. Reality shows. Yeah, when women leaving, yep, they're following us. Yep, that's very common. I remember when I was young, at my grandparents, they would never really talk to each other. I didn't think much of it then. Now learning about today's issues, I think they tolerate each other because duty was more important than liking each other. Yeah, the genie's way out of the bottle, but that's good. Now you have learned. They're already looking for a lot of stepdads. Why do you think they're trying to shame black men into being stepfathers? You see that on TikTok all the time. Before they didn't need no man. But now you see you hear the messaging starting to change. Before that, you couldn't get no hardly any women to come out and actually talk about this. Now they're all over the place. So the environment's starting to change, and nothing changes overnight. You guys think that we can Thanos snap something and it's going to immediately change, right? It did. Nothing immediately changes, right? But I think you guys are smart enough to realize that. You're not one day they're just going to all drop on their knees and start giving blowjobs. It doesn't work that way. I only been with one black woman. Yeah, well, everybody's confessing today. You know how bad shit is to be when women acting like actual woman is somehow a movement. Yeah, well, they need to do something. Why do you think? Why do you think even in the UK, Pippi Longstockings is taking such a big hold? Why do you think that's the case? And women are willing to go to wife school. It's because the environment's changing. Environment's changing. They need a man. You can. You know, that's probably the easy way to get one is travel thousands of miles and get her out of the environment. Because if American black woman, she's looking for you, she's gonna be much more receptive overseas because she can't bag nobody over there. Then we don't need no Q dogs out in DR Columbia. Hey, they're already out there. It is what it is. A black woman trying to escape from black men for decades is going to take an economic collapse to get the black women back to the table. Serious, Raw? Let me ask you this, man. Let me ask you this. I can say it's bullshit, right? It doesn't take a collapse, but it takes a economic strife. Okay, they're already back at the goddamn table. What the fuck you talking about? I don't know what you guys don't see. Uh, uh, basically, look at the evictions that are going on right now. Look at the evictions. Evictions are going on. Chicks getting put out of their houses. Okay, chicks being put on the street. Chicks killing their kids. Chicks. What do you think all these dating shows are about? Why do you think they're so popular? My white homie just goes to the his black jump off. He saw her crib and knew she was a hood rat. Well, yeah, he should have known that, or he couldn't recognize her from the jump. I wonder how long for Florida DeSantis concerned to realize they can't keep hiding behind institutional control over men. At some point, 50-50 child custody has got to happen. But there has to be momentum. But thing is, it started. It's already started. The movement has already started. But thing is, it always starts with a couple of states and it moves forward, right? A big state like Florida is probably going to be one of the last ones. It's got to get enough push in the legislature. I beg of you, please. You might as well beg. Well, most of these, number one, only 5% of people will ever leave this country, okay, permanently, if- under these circumstances, right? Only 5%. What about the other 95%?